This is Artemis Launch Control with an update. Launch Director Charlie Blackwell-Thompson has called a scrub for today. Again, Launch Director Charlie Blackwell-Thompson has called a scrub of the attempt of launch of Artemis I and the Space Launch System with the Orion spacecraft. The issue that came up was an engine bleed that couldn't be remedied, but the rocket is currently in a stable configuration. It was mostly tanked, but not completely tanked. Engineers are now working on a plan to continue gathering data about this particular engine and the bleed that didn't work out. The rocket, the hydrogen bleed rather, was a goal of the previous wet dress rehearsal that didn't happen due to a hydrogen leak. So engineers are focused on gathering as much data as they can at this time. So they have not gone to draining the rocket just yet. They're going to keep it in its current configuration and gather that data. To summarize, we held at T-minus 40 minutes and counting after the team was unable to get past engine bleed that didn't show the right temperature once they got into the engine bleed test. And ultimately, the launch director has called a scrub for the day. The earliest opportunity, depending on what happens with this engine bleed, would be September 2nd. That is available to the launch team. However, we will await a determination of what the plan is to go forward to remedy the engine bleed and then go from there. Again, an availability to launch, the next availability to launch is 12:48 p.m. Eastern Time on Friday, September 2nd. But we must wait to see what shakes out from their test data that they're currently gathering now and the decision that's made by the launch team about where to go from here. We appreciate you watching NASA TV and our coverage of the Artemis I launch attempt. This is Gerald Nail with NASA Communications signing off from the Kennedy Space Center in Florida. Thank you.
Welcome back to the coverage of Artemis I launch here at the Launch Control Center at the Kennedy Space Center in Florida. I am here with Administrator Bill Nelson, who was on hand for the launch today, which had hoped to be a big moment in history for the Space Center, but instead it'll have to wait for another day. The launch attempt was scrubbed. Administrator, thank you for being here. What are your thoughts? How are you feeling after all of this anticipation and build-up, and then unfortunately couldn't go today?
We don't launch until it's right. And in fact, they've got a problem with the gases going on the engine bleed on one engine. You can't go. There are certain guidelines. And I think it's just illustrative that this is a very complicated machine, a very complicated system, and all those things have to work. And you don't want to light the candle until it's ready to go. I have some personal experience in the crew that I participated in on the 24th flight of the space shuttle. We scrubbed 4 times on the pad.
Okay.
And the 5th try was a flawless mission. We know, had we launched on any one of those scrubs, it wouldn't have been a good day. And so that was Hoot Gibson and Charlie Bolden's crew. And so, this is just part of the space business. And it's part of particularly a test flight we are stressing and testing this rocket and the spacecraft in a way that you would never do it with the human crew on board. That's the purpose of a test flight.
And you talk about the complexity, and certainly that is the case here, and learning as we make these attempts. In fact, this engine bleed was something that they wanted to see in wet dress rehearsal number 4, didn't get an opportunity for it. So for the hardworking team that is still here actually gathering data from this rocket and its current configuration, any message for the launch team?
I want them to know that they're doing the perfect job that they always do. They're taking an opportunity while that vehicle is still fueled up to work this problem. And they're going to work it. They'll get to the bottom of it. They'll get it fixed, and then we'll fly.
And when we fly, we hope to have all of our guests back. Of course, there were big crowds here for this attempt. A lot of special guests, including Vice President of the United States, Kamala Harris, was here. Did you keep them briefed on what was happening and what happens next?
Yes. She and I had a good visit. I met her at the airplane. I came straight here to talk to some of the launch control folks, and she is fully briefed on the whole thing. She's very happy to be here. She is an enthusiastic space booster, as is President Biden. So this whole thing will make our country proud.
And Kamala Harris also chairs the National Space Council, so has a big role in our space program here. Senator Nelson, Administrator Nelson, thank you for your time. Appreciate you being here.
Thanks.
And giving our leadership here to this launch effort. We'll have to wait for another day. The next availability is September 2nd, though we don't know at this point if the launch team is going to use that. So we'll wait for a press conference roughly 4 hours from now to find out more about it. That's it for now for NASA TV and the Artemis I launch attempt coverage. I'm Daryl Nail signing off. Have a good day.